Hello everyone, welcome back. Overnight, the unthinkable happened. Crimea Bridge, Russia's key strategic link, is now in crisis. Putin is reportedly panicking, and Moscow is scrambling. This could shake the entire region, with global implications. Stay with us, because in the next few minutes, we're breaking down every shocking detail, who's behind it, and what it means for the future of Russia and Ukraine. You don't want to miss this. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Overnight, the world witnessed a shocking development in Crimea, as the strategic Crimea Bridge faced an unprecedented crisis. This bridge, which links Russia directly to the Crimean Peninsula, has been a symbol of Putin's control and military strategy. Reports are now emerging that parts of the bridge have suffered significant damage, causing immediate panic within Russia's top circles. For months, this bridge has been central to military movements, trade, and supply chains, making its disruption a major concern. Sources indicate that Russian officials are urgently assessing the damage and implementing emergency protocols to prevent further disruption. Witnesses describe scenes of chaos, with emergency crews rushing to stabilize the structure. The timing of this event is critical, coinciding with heightened tensions in eastern Ukraine, potentially altering strategic calculations for both sides. Analysts suggest that this crisis could be a turning point, impacting morale within Russia and giving Ukraine a momentary strategic advantage. International observers are closely monitoring the situation, as the bridge is not only vital to regional logistics, but also a symbol of geopolitical influence. Putin's reaction has been closely watched, with insiders claiming a rare display of unease. The question on everyone's mind now: how will this affect Russia's next moves? And could this incident trigger wider consequences across the region? The Crimea Bridge, completed in 2018, was hailed as a major engineering feat connecting Russia to Crimea. Since its completion, it has served as a lifeline for troops, civilians, and goods, allowing Russia to maintain a stronghold over the peninsula. Overnight, the sudden crisis disrupted this lifeline, sending shockwaves throughout Moscow and international capitals. Videos circulating online show portions of the bridge damaged and traffic completely halted. Experts are analyzing whether this is a result of structural failure, sabotage, or targeted military action. Regardless of the cause, the immediate effect is chaos on both sides, affecting military logistics and civilian transit. Putin's leadership is being tested as this crisis unfolds, with insiders claiming a state of panic among high-ranking officials. The strategic importance of the bridge cannot be overstated, as it is the main artery supplying Russian forces in Crimea. Analysts warn that prolonged disruption could force Russia to reroute supplies and troops, weakening its position. Meanwhile, Ukraine's response has been measured but assertive, signaling a potential escalation in tactical maneuvers. The international community is observing closely, wary of the possibility that this crisis could exacerbate regional tensions. Economists also note that trade disruptions caused by the bridge's instability could have wider financial repercussions. The combination of strategic, military, and symbolic significance makes this a defining moment in the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. As emergency teams work to stabilize the bridge, all eyes remain on Putin's next moves. The sudden crisis on the Crimea Bridge has forced Russia to activate emergency contingency plans across multiple sectors. Military convoys are reportedly being rerouted to alternative paths, slowing operations and creating logistical headaches. Russian media has been tightly controlling information, releasing only limited details while emphasizing that authorities are in control. Analysts, however, question the effectiveness of these measures, noting that the bridge's closure or partial closure could severely impact troop movements. International experts suggest that this incident may expose vulnerabilities in Russia's infrastructure and strategic planning. For Ukraine, this moment provides both opportunity and risk. While it gains temporary advantage, any escalation could provoke severe retaliation. Putin's leadership image is at stake, with public perception closely tied to his ability to manage crises like this. Social media reactions have been intense, with images and videos spreading rapidly, highlighting both the damage and the human response to the incident. Emergency crews continue working under tense conditions to repair structural damages, stabilize traffic flow, and prevent further deterioration. Analysts predict that repair efforts may take weeks, depending on the extent of damage and accessibility challenges. Meanwhile, military strategists on both sides are recalculating options and priorities in response to this unforeseen disruption. With global eyes on the situation, every move by Russia and Ukraine will be scrutinized, making this a pivotal moment with both immediate and long-term consequences. International reactions to the Crimea Bridge crisis have been swift. Governments around the world are expressing concern about the potential escalation of tensions in the region. NATO officials have called for calm, urging both Russia and Ukraine to avoid any actions that could further destabilize the area. Meanwhile, analysts in Europe are warning that the disruption of this key transport link may affect not only military operations, but also civilian supply chains, including food and essential goods. Putin's inner circle is reportedly convening emergency meetings to address the fallout, while Moscow works to project an image of control. The crisis has exposed vulnerabilities in Russian infrastructure, highlighting the risks of centralizing critical operations on a single strategic asset. Social media footage from the bridge area is spreading rapidly, offering a visual confirmation of the severity of the incident. Ukrainian officials are cautiously monitoring the situation, noting that this event could influence negotiations and strategic planning in the ongoing conflict. International media outlets are covering the story extensively, emphasizing both the human and geopolitical implications. Economists also note potential ripple effects on trade, tourism, and regional markets if access remains limited. Analysts stress that the long-term impact of this crisis could extend beyond immediate military concerns, affecting Russia's reputation, internal stability, and strategic posture. Every stakeholder is now adjusting to a rapidly evolving scenario that could redefine the dynamics of the region. As the crisis continues, experts are debating whether the damage to the Crimea Bridge was accidental or deliberate. Some reports suggest structural weaknesses, while others point to the possibility of a targeted operation. Regardless of the cause, the implications are immediate and far-reaching. Military operations dependent on the bridge are disrupted, forcing Russia to reroute troops and supplies through longer, riskier routes. Analysts emphasize that this interruption can slow down strategic objectives in Crimea, providing Ukraine with a temporary advantage. The psychological impact on both military personnel and civilians is also significant, as a key symbol of Russian dominance is now compromised. Putin's reaction has been closely observed, with some insiders noting increased tension in his public appearances. Emergency repair teams face challenging conditions, balancing speed with safety while attempting to restore stability. Global intelligence agencies are reportedly monitoring the situation, assessing risks and potential next steps. The international community continues to weigh the broader implications, considering how regional conflicts and infrastructure vulnerabilities intersect with global security concerns. Economists warn that any prolonged disruption could have cascading effects on trade routes, regional markets, and economic confidence in Crimea. Meanwhile, humanitarian concerns are growing, as locals affected by limited access to essential supplies are becoming increasingly anxious. In this evolving scenario, every decision made by Russia, Ukraine, and international stakeholders could shape the trajectory of the crisis, making this a critical moment in the geopolitical landscape. Local eyewitnesses have reported chaos on the Crimea Bridge, with emergency vehicles scrambling to contain the situation. Traffic has been severely disrupted, affecting civilian commuters and military logistics alike. Video footage circulating online shows parts of the bridge cordoned off, with repair crews working under difficult conditions. Analysts note that this disruption may last longer than initially expected, depending on the extent of structural damage. The bridge, which has served as a strategic artery for Russia, now represents both a tactical challenge and a political headache. Officials in Moscow are reportedly discussing alternative transportation routes to maintain supply chains and troop movements. Ukraine's military strategists are closely observing, analyzing opportunities to capitalize on the disruption while avoiding escalation. International media coverage continues to intensify, highlighting the symbolic significance of the bridge as well as the practical consequences of its damage. Social media users are sharing images and reactions, generating global attention and discussion. Economists warn that trade interruptions and transport delays could ripple through regional markets. Meanwhile, emergency response teams face logistical challenges in coordinating repairs, ensuring safety, and stabilizing infrastructure. Putin's leadership is under scrutiny as he navigates both domestic perception and international pressure. The combined military, political, and social impact makes this crisis one of the most critical events in recent memory, with consequences that may extend far beyond Crimea itself. The geopolitical significance of the Crimea Bridge cannot be overstated. Serving as the primary link between Russia and the Crimean Peninsula, it has strategic, military, and symbolic importance. Overnight, the sudden crisis has raised alarms across Moscow and beyond, prompting immediate contingency measures. Military analysts emphasize that the disruption could alter troop movements, weaken logistical efficiency, and create vulnerabilities for Russian forces stationed in Crimea. Ukrainian officials have been monitoring the situation closely, potentially adjusting strategies to exploit temporary advantages. International observers highlight the symbolic nature of this event, as it challenges the perception of control Russia maintains in the region. Emergency repair crews are working round the clock, navigating hazardous conditions to stabilize key sections of the bridge. Social media coverage has amplified the crisis, offering real-time insights and visual evidence of the damage. Economists warn that prolonged disruption may affect trade flows, regional commerce, and access to essential goods. Politically, Putin's leadership is under intense scrutiny, both domestically and internationally, as his response to the crisis reflects on governance and crisis management. Analysts speculate that every decision in the coming hours could redefine the dynamics between Russia, Ukraine, and neighboring regions. The bridge's temporary dysfunction is not only a logistical challenge, but also a strategic moment with potential long-term consequences, making the unfolding situation one of the most closely watched geopolitical events in recent times. Security experts are closely analyzing the Crimea Bridge crisis to determine possible causes and consequences. While some attribute the incident to structural issues, others consider the possibility of sabotage or targeted action. Regardless of the origin, the immediate effect is significant disruption to Russia's military and civilian operations. Emergency crews are working tirelessly to prevent further damage, restore access, and stabilize the area. Analysts emphasize that any delay in reopening the bridge could have far-reaching implications, impacting troop deployment, supply chains, and civilian mobility. Putin's response has been closely monitored, with reports suggesting urgent meetings and strategic recalculations within Moscow. International attention has intensified as governments and organizations assess potential regional risks and implications for global security. Economists warn that interruptions to transport and trade may ripple through markets, affecting commerce and logistics in Crimea and neighboring regions. The symbolic value of the bridge, representing Russian influence and strategic capability, adds another layer of significance. Social media coverage has magnified public awareness, with footage and reactions spreading rapidly online. For Ukraine, this development provides a strategic window to reassess opportunities and recalibrate plans, though caution is advised to prevent escalation. Overall, the Crimea Bridge crisis represents a convergence of tactical, symbolic, and humanitarian challenges, demanding careful monitoring and coordinated responses from all stakeholders. As the situation develops, military analysts predict several potential outcomes from the Crimea Bridge crisis. Russia may prioritize rapid repairs to restore full functionality, aiming to maintain control over strategic logistics and troop movements. Meanwhile, Ukraine may take a cautious approach, evaluating potential advantages without escalating conflict. Experts highlight that infrastructure vulnerabilities like this can have cascading effects, disrupting not only military operations but also civilian life, trade, and regional stability. Putin's leadership is under scrutiny, as every decision reflects on governance, crisis management, and the ability to project strength. Emergency repair teams continue to face challenging conditions, balancing urgency with safety to prevent further damage. Social media has amplified the crisis, offering real-time documentation and global attention, which in turn pressures decision makers. Economists warn that trade delays, disrupted transport, and limited access to essential goods could have economic consequences beyond the immediate region. International observers remain vigilant, monitoring developments and potential spillover effects. Analysts stress that the long-term impact of this crisis could reshape strategic calculations, influence public perception, and alter geopolitical dynamics. For Russia, swift and effective management is essential, while Ukraine evaluates tactical opportunities. As global attention remains fixed on Crimea, the unfolding situation is likely to define the next chapter in regional tensions and strategic planning. In conclusion, the overnight crisis on the Crimea Bridge has sent shockwaves across Russia and the international community. This key strategic link, vital for military logistics and symbolic of Russian influence, has been disrupted, prompting urgent action by Moscow. Putin's response, seen as unusually tense, highlights the seriousness of the situation. Emergency teams continue to work under pressure, aiming to stabilize the bridge, restore traffic, and prevent further damage. Analysts predict that the effects of this incident will be felt for weeks, influencing military operations, civilian access, trade, and regional stability. Ukraine's response remains cautious but strategic, evaluating opportunities while avoiding unnecessary escalation. International observers are closely monitoring every development, highlighting the broader geopolitical implications. Social media coverage amplifies public attention, documenting the crisis in real time. Economists warn of potential ripple effects on trade and regional markets. As the world watches, this crisis could redefine the balance of power in Crimea and the surrounding region. Remember, events like this are critical for understanding geopolitical strategies and international relations. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss updates on major global events. Your support helps us bring timely news and detailed analysis straight to you. Stay informed, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next update.